Joining us now is Oklahoma Republican Representative Markwayne Mullin. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Now, Democrats and 11 Republicans have just voted to strip Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of the 2 committees that she's on. You voted no on that resolution. Why was that?
Right. Well, because Marjorie Taylor Greene, what she did was before she got in Congress. And if you're going to hold this accountable to people before they got into office, you need to also hold AOC. You need to hold Maxine Waters. You need to hold Tlaib and Omar to the same standard. I mean, you had Omar who said that Israel hypnotized the world in 2012. You have Tlaib who says the Holocaust gives her a calming feeling. Quote, a calming feeling. Are you serious? And so if Marjorie got up in front of the conference yesterday and she apologized about what she said in 2018. She explained it, and she said she had an impeccable resume up until then. And she was a father, a mother of 3 and a wife of 25 years. And she said, I just asked for you guys to forgive me. I got out there and spoke before I should have said things. I talked to my kids about posting stuff on social media because it's permanent. And she says, here I am, the one that posted it, and I have to pay for it now. And what do? You take somebody at their face value. When they apologize for their past mistakes, we've all made mistakes, and we all need to move on. But what the Democrats are doing here is unprecedented, and it's very dangerous territory by removing a Republican member but not holding their own members accountable.
But I am just curious, though, because Congresswoman Omar, you brought her up. She did publicly apologize for her remarks, saying, quote, I unequivocally apologize. The House then passed a resolution condemning hateful remarks like hers. Every Democrat in the House voted for that resolution, including Omar. Nancy Pelosi called on her to apologize publicly. She did. Marjorie Taylor Greene has not unequivocally apologized. Isn't there a difference here?
She did apologize.
Well, she didn't apologize publicly, though. She did it behind closed doors, right?
Well, she apologized to all of us. I mean, it's the same thing.
But what about to the public?
They didn't. Well, she did on Fox in August. She did go on Fox in August and denounced Aon. I think that's how you say it. QAnon. QAnon. She denounced them and said that she doesn't believe their lies. And if they would have asked for an apology, I bet you they would. But they passed a resolution on Omar. They never try to remove her from the committee, even though we wanted to remove her from a committee. I mean, considering the committee that she sits on, we wanted to remove her from the committee, but the Democrats wasn't willing to move on. They're going to pass the resolution and accept her apology. Yet they don't apply those same standards to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Why? Because she's a Republican.
Well, Mitch McConnell, also a Republican, called out Taylor Greene, saying, quote, loony lies and conspiracy theories are cancer for the Republican Party. Do you agree with him?
No one's trying to defend her past remarks. That's not my place to defend her past remarks. She's apologized for it. It's a closed book. It was before she was in Congress. Her constituents are who should hold her accountable. That's why we're representatives. We get elected by our constituents. And she won 2 elections. She won the general and she won the primary easily. They knew this about her when they elected her. And if they want to remove her in 2 years, then that's her position. That's their position. That's not Speaker Pelosi's position.
And as you just said, Taylor Greene is an elected official. Cancel culture is certainly a topic worthy of discussion, and we've done that on this show. Do you think that elected officials of our government should be held to a similar standard?
And I explain what you mean by held to a similar
standard. With regard to cancel culture, the idea of, you know what, whether or not you did this yesterday or you did this 2 years ago, if you made these comments, you kind of deserve to be canceled.
Well, I'll tell everybody that's wanted to cancel those that make mistakes. Look at yourself. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect, and they aren't perfect either. We've all made mistakes. We've all had a past that we wish we could go back and undo to some degree. And if our constituents choose to keep us, we get elected every 2 years, then that's their voice being heard. And we have to be accountable to our constituents. We need to stand up. Everything we do is public, and we need to make ourselves available. And I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has made herself available. It's just the same thing with AOC and Omar and Tlaib and Maxine Waters. Their constituents continue to elect them, but we want to somehow overstep that, like Nancy Pelosi did, overstep that and hold them to a different standard. That's not Nancy Pelosi's place. That's her constituents' place.
Let's talk about your colleague, Liz Cheney, for a moment. After a secret vote last night, she has held on to her leadership position after voting to impeach President Trump. I understand that you want to respect the secret vote. This is a question that I've asked some of your Republican colleagues. In your view, is there a place in the Republican Party for the 10 members of the House who voted to impeach President Trump?
This reaction by the conference had nothing to do with the vote. We all answered for our own vote, and there's no blowback. There was never a blowback on her vote. What the conversation was that we had the 4-hour conference about yesterday was her statement prior to the vote. And we talked about it. We talked about it openly. We hashed it out among each other, and we voted, and we chose to keep her, and we move on from there. Because as a unit, we're stronger than we are divided. And in the Republican Party, there's a lot of things for us to be united on right now. When you see what's happened with the executive orders out of President Biden's administration, what you're seeing happen here in the House with Speaker Pelosi's leadership, we don't need to be in a circling firing range and keep shooting at each other. We need to be united as a group and fight for this country, because that's what it's all about.
I want to move to the aftermath of the murderous mob that stormed the Capitol after a lie was repeated over and over again that the election had been stolen. 5 people, of course, as you know, died as a result of that riot, including Officer Brian Sicknick, who was laid to rest yesterday. Setting aside your vote not to certify the election results, which Democrats in other elections have done as well, do you plan to make it clear to those who believed lies that the election was stolen that it was not?
Well, listen, there's not a dispute the fact that the election had a lot of irregularities. However, we followed the Constitution. The elections were certified in the state. We had a voice in the House to contest it, contest the electoral votes. We did that. It went into debate, and the House voted to keep the electoral votes. At that point, we moved forward. And I may not like the results, but it's what the results are, and we fought underneath the tools given to us, awarded to us underneath the Constitution. And so as a country, we have to continue to move forward. We have elections, and our votes matter. And when we vote one way or the next, we are held responsible for that vote too. But guess what? There's always another election coming up, and we get to hold the party we put in power accountable, and we get to hold the person we put in power accountable too. And so there's going to be another election cycle in 4 years for the presidency of the United States, and we need to focus on that. For the House of Representatives, who's going to be in control? We're going to be fighting that out actually as we speak, because that election cycle, believe me, has already begun, and we're going to make that vote in less than 2 years.
And lastly, what do you see as your role, and what kind of action are you prepared to take in order to try to calm the rhetoric and this divisive culture, basically, that we have, especially coming out of Washington, D.C., in order to try to get things done, which is something that Americans, whether you're from a red state or blue state, both can agree on?
Listen, we need to take a deep breath. I was asked one time, what's the most important lesson I learned up here? And I learned how to breathe. Take a deep breath. And then we need to look across the aisle, and we need to find a different and a better way to debate. So often elected officials, we want to have a catchphrase. The media is guilty of this too. Have a catchphrase, something to get people's attention. We've always said if it bleeds, it leads. We all need to be held to different responsibility. We need to be held to a higher standard, from elected officials to the media also. And change the tone of our election and change the tone of our politics moving forward. And so for me, I'm going to be passionate about my debates. I'm going to be passionate about representing the great state of Oklahoma. I'm going to be passionate about my beliefs and fight for those. But when the fight's over, we're going to agree to disagree. We can still have friends. We can still represent our districts. And guess what? Every single one of us represent a unique district because our founding fathers set it up that way. So we can all represent our backyards, and we need to respect that. I may not, if I lived in Maxine Waters' district, I wouldn't vote for her. She doesn't represent my values. But I don't live in California. I live in Oklahoma. And let me tell you, a Republican from Oklahoma is different than a Republican from New York, and we're greatly different when you start talking about different parties that we represent. But we need to recognize that and think, do we still all love this country as much as everybody else? This flag that's over my shoulder, do you think that's the most beautiful flag in the world? I do. And if you can agree with that, we have something to work on.
Representative Mullin, thank you so much for your time tonight. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me on.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.